police officer's wife divorced her unemployed husband. 9 years later, the husband returned as an SP, and in a small town of the state's Shivpur district, the story begins. Raghav was an educated, calm-natured man. He had completed his BA and then his MA, but in search of a proper job, he wandered here and there. His parents were simple farmers with very little income, but his values were very strong. In the same district, there was a girl named Nupur who had worked hard and become a sub-inspector. In the police station, she had a different kind of authority. Uniform, stars, respect, everything. Nupur's family had some status in the city, so she always felt that she should get a husband who was equal to her or above her. The marriage proposal came. Raghav and Nupur were introduced. Raghav seemed straightforward, honest, and polite. Nupur thought, okay, even if he doesn't have a job right now, he's educated. He'll get one, and I earn too. They got married. The first few days were very good. Raghav took care of the whole house, supervised the cooking, brought groceries, and adjusted to Nupur's duty timings. Nupur also felt she had found a caring husband, but slowly society's words began poisoning their relationship. In a short time, relatives, co-workers, and neighbors began commenting, "Oh, Nupurji, you're a police officer. What does your husband do? He's so educated. Still no job?" At first, Nupur ignored these questions. Raghav kept giving interviews, filling out forms, applying for clerical jobs, teacher posts. But every time something went wrong. Sometimes he was 1 mark short of the cutoff. Sometimes there was a document issue. Sometimes the interview panel rejected him. One day, Raghav thought, "Let me surprise Nupur at the station today. We'll have lunch together." He went to the police station in simple clothes. The constable at the gate stopped him. "Yes, brother, who do you want to meet?" Raghav smiled and said, "Tell Inspector Nupur I'm here. Can I go inside?" After a moment, Nupur came outside. But what happened inside the police station changed the direction of Raghav's entire life. As soon as they entered, a head constable laughed and asked, "Madam, who is this? A new complainant?" Another one joked, No. Maybe a salesman, come to sell some forms or something." Nupur said in a cold tone, "He is my husband." There was mild surprise on everyone's faces, followed by smirks. Someone immediately asked, "Oh, brother-in-law. What do you do, sir? Which post are you on?" For a moment, even the air in the hallway seemed to stop. Raghav looked at Nupur. He hoped she would proudly say something about him. But Nupur lowered her eyes and in a very soft, almost lifeless voice said, "He stays at home right now, preparing for jobs." The constables laughed. "Oh wow, madam. House husband type. So you're earning, and he must be relaxing at home." Nupur didn't scold anyone. She didn't respond. She just pretended to be busy with her files. Raghav's heart shattered inside. Lunch was out of the question. Nupur didn't even ask him to sit or offer water. After a while, she simply said, "You should go. We'll talk at home. I have a lot of work." That day, while returning home, Raghav realized that the woman who once said, "I'm with you, job or no job," was now ashamed of his unemployment. This was the beginning of the crack in their relationship. After that day, Nupur's behavior slowly changed. Earlier, she cared about his meals, his rest. Now her mouth only brought taunts. At dinner, she would say, "What do you even do all day at home? If you were really studying, you'd be hired somewhere by now." Sometimes when she returned from the station, a colleague would tease her, "You're such a smart officer, and your husband is sitting at home? A man should at least hold some position." Hearing such things made Nupur bitter, and she brought that bitterness home. "Do you even care about me? Everyone at the station asks what post you're on. What am I supposed to tell them?" Raghav would quietly listen. Many times he tried to explain, "Look, Nupur, I'm trying. I'm filling forms, preparing, giving interviews. Give me some time. I'll achieve something too." But Nupur was no longer willing to listen. She felt she had married a weak man. One day, in anger, she burst out, "I wish I had married an officer, at least someone on my level. I feel ashamed walking with you now." These words pierced Raghav's soul. He lay awake the entire night, staring at the ceiling. It felt like his manhood, his existence. Everything had been questioned. Time kept passing. Fights had become an everyday thing. Sometimes money, sometimes society, sometimes relatives, sometimes matters of the police station. Every issue turned into a war. One day Nupur finally gave a direct verdict. "I can't live like this anymore. I want a divorce." Raghav felt as if someone had snatched not just his dreams but his breath away. With folded hands he said, "Nupur, give me a few years. I will truly change our life. I will prove myself. Just don't leave me." But Nupur's heart had turned to stone now. She said, "I cannot waste my entire life with an unemployed, useless man. I just want a divorce." In court, both were sitting face to face. Before the ink on the papers could even dry, their relationship had already shattered. The judge announced, "The divorce is granted." Raghav lifted his eyes and looked at Nupur one last time. He had hoped that maybe there would be at least one tear in her eyes, but her face showed only a cold, hard expression, as if all this was merely a formality. That day, while walking out of the court, Raghav took a vow deep inside his heart. "Now I'll take revenge on life itself. I won't cry. I'll rise so high that the same people who look down on me today will look up and call me Sir." And that's where his real story began. After the divorce, Raghav left home. Staying in the same city, breathing in the same streets where people recognized him as the jobless husband of a police officer felt like getting stabbed in the soul every single day. He moved to another city, Lucknow. He had a little money in his pocket, which soon ran out. For a few days he stayed in a cheap lodge. Then, because of money problems, he rented a tiny, dirty slum room. Even food became difficult. He survived 2 days drinking only water. On the third night, when the cramps in his stomach became unbearable, he asked a tea stall at the crossroads for tea and 2 biscuits on credit. That night he sat on the footpath, drinking tea, eyes full of tears, mind full of questions. Am I really useless? Am I really good for nothing? Just then, a middle-aged man sitting at the next table noticed his condition. He asked, "Son, what happened? Your face looks like you've lost everything." At first, Raghav tried to hide it, but then he broke down. He told his entire story: studies, no job, being the husband of a police officer, insults at the police station, the divorce, hunger, loneliness. The man took a deep breath and said, "My name is Shekhar Tripathi. I run a competitive exam coaching institute nearby. Have you ever thought of giving civil services or police services exams?" Raghav laughed. "Sir, I want to think about a lot of things, but I don't even have money to eat. How will I pay for coaching?" Shekhar smiled. Sometimes life throws someone very low so that they can bounce very high. You have potential. I can see fire in your eyes. If you promise to work hard, then leave the fees to me. You just study with your whole heart. Become an SP one day and make me proud. It felt as if support had dropped straight from the sky. Tears rolled down Raghav's eyes. He folded his hands and said, "Sir, I'll put my blood into my studies. I will never break the trust you've shown in me." Shekhar admitted him into his coaching. He also said, "Don't burden your mind too much. Worry a little less about money. After coaching, if you get time, do some small work here and there. Take tuitions, help at a daba, with accounts in the evenings. Your expenses will be managed. Raghav did exactly that. 6 to 8 hours of coaching and self-study during the day. In the evenings, he handled the cash counter at a roadside daba. At night, he sat under a streetlight and revised everything again. Many times his head dropped from exhaustion. Sleep would take over. But Nupur's laughter, that scene at the police station, those taunts, all of it would wake him up again. He would tell himself, "You're the same man who was once called someone who just sits at home. Now you'll become the man people will salute." "Good morning, sir." From that moment his dream got its name, SP Raghav Singh. The preparation had begun. But the path wasn't easy. He took his first attempt at the State Public Service Commission exam. Somehow he cleared the prelims, but in the mains, he missed the cutoff by just a few marks. Seeing the result, a storm rose inside him. For a moment he felt, maybe Nupur was right. Maybe he really was useless. But then he remembered Shekhar Sir's words. Failure doesn't say you're defeated. It only says, work harder. He shook himself out of it and said, my next attempt will decide my whole life. In his second attempt, he worked even harder. Every coaching material, online test, previous paper, interview prep, he filled it all into his mind. He left the daba job and started going house to house teaching kids so he could save time and still earn a little. But destiny tested him again. In the second attempt, he reached the interview round. But his name didn't appear in the final merit list. This shock was even bigger. For 3-4 days he wandered around, broken. Sitting on the footpath, he started questioning, how much more? How long? One evening, Shekhar Sir called him to his room. Placing a hand on his shoulder, he said, Raghav, if you give up now, remember this. You're not just killing your dream. You're proving right every single person who ever called you useless. Give one last attempt with full fire. Then watch how the one above writes your destiny. The third attempt was like a war for him. Now he wasn't studying just to pass. He was studying to take revenge on his old self. Days, nights, festivals, holidays, everything disappeared. All that remained were books, notes, mock tests, and one name, SP Raghav Singh. Finally, the result day arrived. With trembling fingers, he typed his roll number on the laptop. On the screen it said, Selected, State Police Service, DYSP, ASP Kadre. Raghav's eyes filled with tears, as if all the pain inside him had burst out at once. After a few years of training, promotions, and strong performance and service, he rose to the rank of SP, Superintendent of Police. The day he wore the uniform with the stars on his shoulders for the first time, standing in front of the mirror, he remembered that old day at the police station when people called him a man who just sits at home. He was the same Raghav, but now the world was going to call him SP Sahab. Destiny enjoys writing stories too. Almost 10 years later, Raghav got a new posting, District Shivpur, the same city where he once lived as Nupur's husband. The same streets, the same crossroads, the same old police station, and maybe the same people. When his official vehicle entered the city, banners were hung everywhere. A warm welcome to the Honorable Superintendent of Police. People were showering flowers. Children were saluting. After reaching headquarters, he took charge. While going through the files, one list passed in front of his eyes. City Kotwali. Police station in charge, Inspector Nupur Yadav. For a moment his breath stopped. His heart jolted, but his face didn't show a single emotion. He smiled slightly and said to himself, all right, the story isn't over yet. The very next day, a meeting of all station in-charges was called. In the conference hall, officers sat in a line, some standing, some checking files. The door opened. A female officer walked in with sharp, confident steps. Inspector Nupur Yadav. At first, she walked in with her usual confidence. But the moment her eyes landed on the chair in front, on the SP sitting there, her heart suddenly dropped. The face was the same, but now with a light beard, a mature, confident presence, and stars shining on his shoulders, SP Raghav Singh. The file almost slipped from Nupur's hands. She didn't know whether to say Sir or Raghav. Raghav spoke in a completely professional tone. Yes, Inspector Nupur, please have a seat. We have a lot of work to do in this district. The meeting began. Law and order, crime updates, patrolling, everything. Nupur's voice was trembling the whole time. When the meeting ended, Raghav said softly, Inspector Nupur, stay back for a moment. All the officers walked out. Only 2 people remained in the room, once husband and wife, today standing as 2 officers. With a choked voice, Nupur said, Raghav, sir, all this... Raghav cut her off. In the office, I am only Sir Nupurji. Raghav signed those divorce papers with you years ago. That Raghav died the same day. Hearing this, Nupur's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, she realized time hadn't changed only for her. A lot had changed for Raghav too. Over the next few weeks, Raghav took small, subtle revenge. Sometimes a harsh remark on her file for no reason. Sometimes keeping her leave applications pending. Sometimes pointing out a tiny mistake in front of everyone during meetings. Everything within the rules. But just enough for Nupur to feel the same pain she'd once given him. Every night Nupur sat alone thinking, this man once loved me, and today I'm standing so small in his eyes. One night after late patrolling, Raghav returned to the office. As his car entered the compound, he saw Nupur sitting alone on a chair in the veranda. Files kept beside her, eyes swollen as if she'd cried a lot. Surprised, Raghav asked, You're still here at this hour, Inspector? Nupur stood up and said quietly, Sir, I wanted to talk to you personally, if you allow. Raghav silently walked inside his office room and gestured for her to come in. As soon as the door closed, Nupur broke down crying. Raghav, I was so wrong. I judged you because you were unemployed. I thought my uniform was bigger than you. I listened to society, taunted you, questioned your manhood. And then I left you. And today that same society is watching me stand with my head bowed in front of you. Raghav stood quietly. Nupur continued, When I saw you walk in as the SP, I understood how small my thinking was. You always had the fire. It was me who couldn't wait for you. If you want, you can transfer me from this station. Suspend me. Anything. Just say one thing. Say that you've forgiven me from your heart. Otherwise, I will never be able to forgive myself. There was a slight mist in Raghav's eyes, too. He got up from his chair and walked toward the window. He stayed silent for a few moments, then he turned around and said, Nupur, I've taken enough revenge. I've answered every taunt of yours with this uniform. The day you called me a man who sits at home, that day I decided I would sit in a chair where even you would have to salute me. Today is that day. And to be honest, even this revenge has started to feel like a burden now. Crying, Nupur said, So, can you forgive me? Raghav stepped a little closer. Looking straight into her eyes, he said, Yes, I forgive you. Because if you hadn't left me, maybe I would have never broken down and worked this hard. You gave me pain. But that same pain made me an SP, so I don't have hatred for you anymore. Just an old story. That has ended. Nupur, with trembling hands, bent down to touch his feet. Thank you, Raghav. I mean, sir. Raghav immediately stepped back. No, don't do that. You're an officer and so am I. Between us there will only be a professional relationship now. SP and Inspector. Life has moved forward, Nupur. And we must move forward too. Tears of pain and relief flowed down Nupur's eyes at the same time. For the first time, she truly accepted her mistake, and the person in front of her had genuinely forgiven her. But he had not taken her back. A few months later, Nupur got transferred to another district. On the day of her farewell, she stood at a distance and gave a gentle salute. Raghav bowed his head slightly and returned the salute. Without a single word, everything was said. The car moved forward. Dust rose in the air. Nupur went farther and farther away. Raghav stood on the balcony of his office, looking at the city, the same streets. But now the identity had changed. Once, he was known as the unemployed husband of a police officer, and today, that same man was SB Raghav Singh, a man whose uniform the entire city saluted. He looked up at the sky, smiled softly, and said in his heart, "Thank you, life. You pushed me down so many times, but every time, you lifted me even higher. Today, I don't want to live by taking revenge on anyone. I just want to live by conquering myself." If this story touched your heart, do share your thoughts in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe. Allah Hafiz.